Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's time for Ask Huda, your host, Fuad Muhammad. And of course, we welcome on the show today, Dr. Muhammad Salah. Assalamu alaikum, Doctor.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Just would like the viewers for you to know that today we're not taking any of your telephone calls, and we're just answering some of the many emails we've been receiving from you, the viewers. And for those who would like to send us more emails, you can do that by sending it at ask, that's ASK, at Huda.tv. Dr. Muhammad, the first email we have is from Nigeria, from Sister Lafia. And she wants to know what type of prayer, condolences can a Muslim say to Muslims who have lost loved ones?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi wa kafa. Wa salamun ala ibadihi alladhina istafa. La siyama al-Mustafa. Sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama tasliman kathira. All praise due to Allah alone. We praise Him and we seek His help. Whomsoever Allah guides is the truly guided one, and whomsoever Allah leaves astray, no one can show him guidance. May the best peace and blessings be upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When one of the Prophet's daughters sent to him that her son was dying, so Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent a message to her to tell her that لله ما أخذ ولله ما أعطى وكل شيء عنده بأجل مسمى فلتصبر ولتحتسب. This is a condolence that it is recommended that we copy whenever we visit somebody who has a beloved person died or one of his family members passed away. So it's recommended to say لله ما أخذ ولله ما أعطى, which means whatever Allah has taken, whatever Allah has given, all belong to Him. And everything happens with an accurate measure, and everything has a fixed term. It's a reminder that no matter how much you loved him or you loved her, that all of us will die. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said that the greatest condolence for any calamity that will befall any person after me is to remember my death. I mean, is there any bigger or greater calamity than the loss of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ? That's why until today, whenever we hear an audio tape or we read about the process of the death of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, it is like we just lost him right now. And you find automatically the true believers shedding tears. Why? Because the greatest musibah is the death of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So when you remember that the dearest one to Allah and the most beloved to Him and to the believers have died, then it's a condolence by itself. In case that you lose a beloved one, so the Prophet ﷺ died. إِنَّكَ مَيِّتٌ وَإِنَّهُمْ مَيِّتُونَ. So it's a reminder with the factual reality of life, which is soon everybody will die. فَلْتَصْبِرْ وَلْتَحْتَسِبْ. So be patient and speculate their word and expect their word from Allah the Almighty. So for such calamity, one can convert it into a praiseworthy act by being patient, by enduring patiently. Yes, you can cry, you can feel sorry, you can mourn the death of your beloved ones, but without objecting to Allah's decree. Because when the Prophet ﷺ lost his only son, Ibrahim, the companions have seen him crying. And he said, indeed, we feel very sorry for the loss of Ibrahim, but we do not object to Allah's decree. إن القلب لا يحزن وإن العين لا تدمع ولا نقول إلا ما يرضي الرب وإنا لفراقك يا إبراهيم لمحزونون. Yes, his heart was saddened and his eyes were shedding tears. And he feels very sorry for the loss of his son. But he stated that we will not say but what will please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In such calamity, sometimes people forget what Allah has reminded us with, that every one of us shall be tried by a mean or another. And out of the trial, he can make a gain and virtue by being patient. وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ أُولَئِكَ عَلَيْهِمْ صَلَوَاتٌ مِّن رَبِّهِمْ وَرَحْمَةٌ وَأُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْمُهْتَدُونَ. For such calamity, if you endure it patiently, count with me. Give them glad tidings. Those would remark, saying upon experiencing any calamity or facing any trial, indeed, we all belong to Allah, and unto Him we shall return. And this is a fact. For such people, and such treatment, and such statement, أولئك, such people, عليهم صلوات من ربهم ورحمة وأولئك هم المهتدون. Allah will bless them, Allah will have mercy on them, and they are the truly rightly guided ones. So, remind the person by saying إِنَّ لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّ إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ لِلَّهِ مَا أَخَذَ وَلِلَّهِ مَا أَعْطَى وَكُلُّ شَيْءٍ عِنْدَهُ بِأَجَلٍ مُسَمَّى. And reminding also to be patient in order to receive the reward by saying اصبر واحتسب. Wallahu a'lam.
Okay, and Brother Khalid Bustaniri from Jeddah, he said, I'm a new Muslim. He said he's a bit confused because about getting up for Fajr late unintentionally. He said that the Dawah Center told him that he has to pray immediately when he get up. But he read the hadith that says that we should pray until the sun has completely risen. He wants you to clarify.
Okay. It is true that there are certain times during the day that Muslims are not allowed to offer prayers during those times, because they resemble the acts of worship, the prayers of other people, non-believers during those times, such as those who pray to the sun or to Satan's at sunrise and at sunset, and so on. But there is only regarding the non-obligatory prayer, or the voluntary prayer, or a prayer which is mere voluntary. It doesn't have a reason. But a prayer which has a reason, such as making up a mandatory prayer, there is nothing wrong with that. You still can pray, even during the disliked times. Or for a prayer that has a reason, such as you enter the masjid during any of the times which is disliked to offer a voluntary prayer. It is recommended to pray even though this is the disliked time, because this is not a tatawwa, it is an emphatic sunnah or a wajib that you're making up. So if you wake up, as in the hadith which is collected by Imam al-Bukhari, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, من نام عن صلاة أو نسيها فليصليها أو فليؤديها متى ذكرها لا كفارة لها إلا ذلك. So it is recommended once you wake up and you realize that you missed the prayer, to pray even if it is before or after or during sunrise. There is no other ransom for it other than that. It is only related to mere tatawwa or voluntary prayers, where that you should not be praying during those times.
Okay, and his second question, he says in the verse, it says, if you do not, you cannot treat the wife justly, then marry only one. He wants to know if there is any hikmah or any wisdom instead of using justly instead of being equal.
Okay, first of all, every single word that's been laid down in the Quran have been said by Allah the Almighty. Allah spoke out the Quran. And similarly, the previous books, which are the original books, not the altered versions which are available nowadays. So imagine that Allah the Almighty is the one who is speaking. How eloquent, how perfect, free from any error or imperfection. So choosing any word has a wisdom behind it. We try to study based on the available knowledge why this word, not the other word, but also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, and He is the most wise. When Allah the Almighty says in Surah An-Nisa, فَانْكِحُوا مَا طَابَ لَكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ مَثْنَى وَثُلَاثَ وَرُبَاعَ فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا فَوَاحِدَةً أَوْ مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ. This is an ayah which I normally say, it does not, brothers and sisters, it does not permit polygamy, rather it limited plural marriages to 4. Because before this ayah, it was open, it was unlimited. So this ayah came to restrain, to restrict, to qualify, to limit, and to control, not to allow. When people say this ayah is revealed in order to make plural marriage in Islam lawful, the ayah came on the contrary to limit the number. And that's why when some of the companions was married to 10 at the same time before Islam, and after Islam he maintained this marriage because there was no legislation by the lawmaker concerning that. So the Prophet ﷺ ordered him, after the revelation of this verse, to divorce to maintain the marriage of 4 and to divorce or let go the rest. Also, when a man was married to 2 sisters at the same time, the Prophet ﷺ ordered him to keep one and to let go the other. So the verse came in order to restrict and qualify previous rulings, which was very obvious and common even in Christianity and in Judaism and among the prophets before Muhammad ﷺ, and the books, even the altar books of the people of the scripture indicated that as we were speaking. Now, the ayah says, but there is a condition, which is that if you are ready to get married for the 2nd time, 3rd or 4th time, then you have to maintain the adala.
Yes.
Adala, which is to treat them fairly. There is a question the brother asked, why didn't he say equal?
Yes.
Of course, we're trying to learn. We're not trying to judge why Allah said this and did not say that.
Yes.
When I say equal, Fuad, that means if I give you a glass, I take a similar glass. If I give you $1, I have to take the exact dollar.
Yes.
What if a woman has 5 kids and the other woman does not have any children?
Yes.
Does it mean that I have to spend the same amount equally? If we're talking about equal, there is a big difference between equal and fairly. Equal is very specific, and it does not serve the purpose as much as just and fairly. Because maybe one of them is sick. She needs extra spending. I would say you're out of resources because I'm supposed to give the first one $500 and you already consume the $500 of yours. I'm not going to spend any more on you. Of course not. So fairly, based on your best judgment, to treat them justly. If you give this one, you give that one. Give you an example. When Nu'man ibn Bashir, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated that his father came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Ya Rasulullah, my wife requested from me to get your testimony. I want you to bear witness that I'm giving my son a'atiyya, a gift, a property. So Nabi ﷺ said, well, do you have any children other than him? He said, yes. He said, have you given each and every one of them similar to what you gave to Nu'man? He said, no. At that, Nabi ﷺ said, إذن اذهب أشهد على هذا غيري. Find somebody else to bear witness to that, because I do not testify or bear witness to a falsehood. This is injustice. Okay? So this is injustice by giving one and depriving the other. But what if you have a child who's handicapped and doesn't work?
Yes.
So you give him in order to maintain his livelihood. You give him extra. Now, this is just and fair, but not necessarily equal. Equality would mean that to give each one the same amount.
Yes.
Equality would mean that I would give the girl like the boy after death, but justice is more accurate in this regard. You can give the one who is more in need in proportion with his or her need. And that's why Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, if we're talking about equality and justice, he said, with regards to his marriage to Aisha and the rest of his wives, he said, Allahumma hada qasmi fima amlik, fala tu'akhidni fima la amlik. Oh Allah, I have done my best to treat them fairly concerning what I possess. What do you possess? I possess the material treatment, the physical treatment. I spend one night at each one of them, at their houses or rooms. I do not give 2 to 1 and exclude 1, or treat one superior by spending more money here and not spending there at all, or. So I tried my best. So pardon me concerning what I have no control over, which is heart and emotions. Heart and emotions. It is very well known that the Prophet ﷺ loved Aisha more than the rest of his wives. Why? Because love and affection, love and compassion is not in your control.
Yes.
I can see you from the first time and I just love you. I like you for the sake of Allah. And I see another person who may be superior to you, maybe nicer looking than you, but I don't like him. You know?
Yes.
It's a matter of this something that you don't control it. You don't own it. You find some exceedingly white people with blue eyes. Their love is to marry a black person. And the opposite is true. So it has nothing to do with it is not like personal choice.
Yes.
This is love and compassion controlled by
SubhanAllah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So justice is more accurate than equality.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. We have another question here, and it's a lengthy question, but just to summarize it. She says, my aunt and uncle is suffering financial problem, but however, the biggest problem is their failure to bring up their 20-year-old son. He doesn't listen to what they have to say. He doesn't offer salah, and he's not religious in any sense. She wants some advices, what she can advise her aunt and uncle.
I wish that for such cases that one would have a remote control or a stick that you can touch the person and he would change into a better individual. Things like that happen, and the people go through their lives into different stages, different experiences. Sometimes they're good and sometimes they're extremely bad and wicked. Some realize their faults and errors before it is too late, and some people, unfortunately, they only recognize it when they lose their beloved ones, their parents. They have not become dutiful to them, loving and caring during their lives. Then after they died, they come to us and they say, Sheikh, I was a very bad and terrible person. I did not recognize the value of my parents' life, and now I don't know what to do. I lost both of them or one of them. How can I help them? How can I be dutiful to them? So we say, it is very important to have an intermediary. Because sometimes, it is very difficult for a math teacher to teach his own children.
Yes.
Maybe a very genius person in physics, his kids are terrible in physics, and they hate science and chemistry. Rather, they would study English literature. So having somebody else address them and speak to them is very, very helpful. And this is what we used to do whenever we're invited to some houses and family counseling in North America. The kids need somebody else. I mean, with the kids, whether they're very young or youth or teenagers, they need somebody to explain to them and lift the fog, explain to them some hiddens that make them realize and appreciate what they have and what they got. Once a child was having the same traits that as you're talking, and he was talking very terrible about his parents as he was complaining to me. So I had to stop him and I said, at least don't say that in public, because I have others who are sitting in the meeting. Then I asked him after the prayer to meet me in private. And he was so fed up and he was full of hatred to his parents. And when you listen to his story, it is because his parents are extra caring. Extra caring. And they tried to protect him so much to the point that they involved themselves in every aspect in his life. So now he graduated. I say, so why don't you move to live by yourself and work and make your earning? He said, well, I'm studying my master's now. I said, so if you hate them that much, you talk so bad about them, they're very educated, very prestigious people, and religious. So why, if you hate them that much, why don't you move out? He said, well, I'm enjoying the ride. He did not hesitate to say that openly and bluntly. He said, I'm enjoying the ride, the free ride. So it was only when we started lifting the fog and removing the dust and explaining to him and making him realize that one day he will be a father, he will be a parent. How would you like your son or daughter to treat you? And this is when he started shedding tears and crying and so on. So you need a private intermediary to speak to him. In addition to, in many cases where I thought we cannot do anything more, the best is dua. Pray for him a lot, because the peer pressure and the influence of the bad company and the society and the media is so corrupt that it influences the youth in a very negative and passive way that beyond our imagination. It makes people turn to kufr. Why? Because they have been captured by Satan, which is appearing from the screens in many, many channels. So maybe you have spent time and effort and invested a great deal of your effort in educating your son or daughter, but they have deviated right or left for a while. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring them back to the straight path and on the right track. Ad-du'a is the greatest mean to help in regards like that. And of course, it's highly recommended, as I said, to seek the assistance of a local imam or psychiatrist who is religious in order to bring what you want to say to the attention of your son or daughter. May Allah guide him.
Our next email is quite a short one, and it's from Ruqayya Ahmed, and she says, Sheikh, can you please tell me how to perform the midnight prayer?
Very simple. The Prophet ﷺ explained that the best prayer at night is the one which is approaching the 1/3, the last 1/3 of the night. This is when Allah the Almighty would descend by Himself to the worldly heaven and say if there is any needy person, so that he would fulfill his need. If anyone is supplicating, he would answer his dua or supplication. It's a very, very virtuous time. So if you would like to postpone it until the last 1/3 of the night, that is best. Or otherwise, you can begin the night prayer as early as right after Salatul Isha. So, if you get up and you say the dua and you recite the last verses of Surah Ali Imran, then you make wudu and line up. It is recommended to pray 8 rak'ahs 2 by 2. Because Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha narrated that this is what the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to do, whether in Ramadan or other than Ramadan. 8 rak'ahs, then the shafa and the witr. So the total will be 11 rak'ahs. It is recommended to offer them 2 by 2. But if somebody began his or her prayer without an intention of making a certain number of rak'ahs, and he just kept praying 10, 20, 50, it is permissible. Just make sure that the last rak'ah will be a witr, meaning a single rak'ah, whether odd, whether 1, 3, or 5. Because the Prophet ﷺ recommended that to seal up our night prayer with the witr. Inna Allah ta'ala witrun yuhibbul witr.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. Sheikh, we'll take a short break here on Ask Huda, and we'll be back right after this, inshaAllah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The true life of the Muslim starts at death. If you wish to enhance your knowledge of the Islamic perspective on the hereafter, this life doesn't go on forever, but we do so little to prepare for it because most of us don't know what happens after this life ends. If you want to be amongst those who know, then join us every Saturday at 1930 GMT for the inevitable journey.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're back and you're watching Ask Huda. Just a quick reminder, we're not receiving any of your telephone calls today on the show. However, you can send your emails, your questions as emails at ask, that's ask, at huda.tv. Doctor, our next email is as well as from Nigeria, and it's from Ubaida, and she wants to know if there is any supplication that is recommended for a woman who is in labor.
Any supplication of asking Allah for ease, but there is no prescribed or emphatic invocation specifically for delivery. I normally say it is very great to say Allahumma la sahla illa ma ja'altahu sahla wa anta taj'alul hazna in shi'ta sahla. This is a prophetic invocation, but it is not necessarily prescribed in this situation. Rather, at any time where there is difficulty or hardship, and you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you ease. Oh Allah, there is no ease but what you make it easy. But in what you make it easy. And you are the one who makes whatever difficult easy, so make it easy for me.
SubhanAllah.
Okay? Reciting any Quranic verses are also recommended. And during the labor pain, your dua is most likely to be accepted.
Okay, our next email is from Sister Tarta from Philippines, and she says, is it okay to keep a dog outside the house for security reasons?
You already mentioned for security reasons, but who would define security? If nowadays we have alarms and we have everything, but some people would like to keep a pet and they would say it is for security. So what will determine that? It is your intention. Because the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it is not allowed to keep a dog except if it is a dog of the sheep, to guard the sheep if you are a shepherd, or a security dog for security, or a dog for hunting, the educated or the trained dog. Besides that, it is not permissible to keep a dog at home.
Okay, and our second question is how many rak'ah before this Salat al-Asr? How many sunnah?
Well, the Prophet ﷺ praised those who would pray before Asr in one hadith by saying that Allah praises those who would pray 4 rak'ahs before Asr. So, it is non-emphatic sunnah, meaning it is not confirmed, because the confirmed sunnah are 12. But in another hadith, he said, بَيْنَ كُلِّ أَذَانَيْنِ صَلَاةٌ, that it is recommended to offer nawafil between each 2 adhan. The first adhan is the regular adhan of each one of the 5 daily prayers, and the second is referring to the iqamah. So there is a sunnah, whether emphatic or non-emphatic, before each prayer. Before Asr, it is recommended to pray 2 or 4 rak'ahs.
Yes.
And it is recommended to pray them 2 by 2, because of the general hadith, Salatul Layli wan Nahari mathna mathna. So if you have a chance to pray 4, fine, 2 by 2, or otherwise just praying 2 is fine.
Okay, and our third question is, with regards to the Maghrib prayer, is the sunnah before the Maghrib or after the fourth prayer?
Well, with the Maghrib prayer, praying after Maghrib is an emphatic sunnah. Is one of the 12 rak'ahs which is mentioned in the hadith, that whoever observes them on regular basis will have a house built for him in paradise. We said 4 before Dhuhr, 2 by 2, 2 after Dhuhr, 2 after Maghrib, 2 after Isha, and 2 rak'ahs before Fajr. What about praying before Maghrib? If there is a gap, or the mu'adhin or the imam allows the musallin to pray sunnah, then it is recommended to pray 2 rak'ahs before Maghrib as well, based on the previous reference, بَيْنَ كُلِّ أَذَانَيْنِ صَلَاةٌ. There is a prayer, or it is recommended to pray between the adhan and the iqamah. But it is non-emphatic sunnah. The only emphatic sunnah with regards to the 5 daily prayers is to pray before the salah, is the 2 rak'ahs before Fajr, and the 2 or 4 before Dhuhr.
Okay, and her fourth question is quite a lengthy one. She says, I've been divorced to the father of my sons for 8 years, and she wants to know if she can use her name as the family name for her kids, since the father doesn't support them and he neglects the kids totally.
No, it is not permissible under any circumstances to give a child a last name other than the name of his real father. أُدْعُوهُمْ لِآبَائِهِمْ. This is what Allah commanded in Surah Al-Ahzab. We must attribute and ascribe the children, whether boys and girls, to their real fathers. In another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, الْوَلَدُ لِلْفِرَاشِ وَلِلْعَاهِرِ الْحَجَرِ. So if somebody was born in a legitimate relationship between a male and a female, a man and a woman, then the son is automatically the son of the husband, even if he was a result of an illegitimate relationship, because he was born in marriage. On the bed of the husband, so the husband would bear the name.
Okay. The next question, she says, can you give some Quranic du'as to be recited? This is another question, as a matter of fact, from a different sister. She says, I'm fed up of my health and I just want du'as that can help me to get out of it.
I'm afraid that the question is phrased wrongly. Because when somebody says, I'm fed up, you can say that to Fuad or Muhammad or your colleagues, your friends. And you're fed up with human beings like you, even your superiors. But I guess that you cannot say to your superior, I'm fed up with your commands and your obligations and rules. You cannot say that. I'm trying to bring into your attention that what I said in the beginning of the program, that we want to convert the calamity and benefit from it into bring virtues and benefits out of the calamity. Convert it into a good thing. It's a test. It is very bitter. It is very hard. But I want to earn reward out of that. A woman who is having epilepsy, an epileptic woman, came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Ya Rasulullah, inni usra. I get fits and seizures, and ask Allah to cure me. So the Prophet ﷺ said to her, إن شئت دعوت الله لك وإن شئت صبرت ولك الجنة. He gave her a very very unique choice. If you wish, I will pray and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cure you, and you will be granted cure immediately. This is from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But if you wish to be patient, and Allah will reward you as a result of your patience for this disease, Al-Jannah, heaven. So imagine, the offer is Al-Jannah, the price is heaven. She said, no, I would rather be patient and enter heaven. But I have a concern that whenever I have the fit, I get uncovered. So ask Allah to make me always covered and not to show my awrah before strangers. So at that, the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed for her. Later on, the Sahaba have seen her, and Abdullah ibn Umar said to one, let me show you one of Ahl al-Jannah, the people of Al-Jannah, this black lady, because she had an incident 1, 2, 3, 4. So she was living among the companions, and they knew that she is a dweller of heaven. But she was never uncovered after that. So, ما يصيب المسلم من هم ولا حزن ولا نصب ولا وصب حتى الشوكة يشاكها إلا كتب له بها أجرا إلا كفر الله بها من خطاياه. There is nothing that hurts or hits or afflicts or burdens the Muslim, the believer, even if it is just mere thorn penetrating your skin. Anything that annoys you, worries, debt, difficulty, sickness, illness, from cancer to simple flu, to simple cold symptoms. Okay? If you endure that patiently, with that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will expiate from you your sins and will drop your mistakes and will waive and remit your faults. So it is good for you. So you should rejoice. When you say, I'm fed up, you're diabetic, and you have to take the insulin several times a day before each meal. Okay. Let's say that you're fed up. You're upset. What are you going to do? Nothing. No one can help you other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you look at it from a spiritual belief perspective, it is better for you to accept Allah's decision and decree and be patient in order to come out of this test with a great deal, full account of reward. Because if you object, you will be deprived from the reward, you will be punished for your objection, and you will not change the fact or the divine destiny or the preordainment concerning your ailment or your disease. It will not help. When a woman was crying at a grave for the loss of her son, and the Prophet ﷺ said to her, اتَّقِ اللَّهَ وَاصْبِرِي, fear Allah and be patient. She said, get away from me. إِلَيْكَ عَنِّي فَإِنَّكَ لَمْ تُصَبْ بِمُصِيبَتِي. Leave me alone. You have not been afflicted with the same. So Nabi ﷺ withdrew peacefully. Then after he left, he told her that it was the Prophet. Are you out of your mind? So she rushed to his house in order to apologize to him. He said, forget about apologizing to me. You just wasted a great opportunity of earning thawab and remitting your sins. إِنَّمَا الصَّبْرُ عِنْدَ الصَّدْمَةِ الْأُولَى. Patience is with the first shock of the calamity, not a year or 2 years later. Now, if anyone is told that or diagnosed with cancer, early or late stages of cancer, alhamdulillah wa shukrulillah, you're not going to live any shorter, no longer than what Allah has preordained for you. Everyone in this life is taking turns. We're all in a train, and the train stops in various stations to load and upload. And once it's your turn, you cannot say, I'm not getting off the train, I'm not disembarking, or I'm not embarking. No, you will be pushed out, or you will be pushed in, because we are not given any choice in this regard. Our choice is only concerning to be patient or not, please or object. And according to that, there will be a compensation of reward or punishment. So, it is better, it is best to be patient and to endure that with sabr in order to earn hasanat and remove some of your sayyat. And make dua. Make dua that may Allah cure you. May Allah help the scientists to find out a permanent cure for diabetes. Uwais al-Qarani, a tabi'i, have not seen the Prophet, nor did the Prophet ﷺ have seen him. And he had a disease which until today, in the 21st century, there is no cure for it. There is no cure for it. Vitiligo, color dyspigmentation. And it was covering his entire body. But he made a dua, oh Allah, cure me. And he was totally cured, except for the position or the size of a coin around his navel as a reminder. So there is nothing impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون. Make dua. May Allah give you patience for your calamity, and make dua that may Allah cure you.
Okay, now our next email is from sister. It says your sister from Yemen, and she wants to know if it's allowed to speak to classmates who are males, and if it's okay to call them friends.
I am totally against co-education whenever it's not necessary, especially in Muslim countries, because it does not bring any virtue nor goodness. This is a fact. I'm talking about somebody who studied in a separate education, in a separate campus, and this is one of the great privileges of studying in Al-Azhar. Until today, alhamdulillah, that is maintained. Only Allah knows what's going to happen in the future. While the West is focused on destroying our peaceful life by introducing some Western habits to us that contradict our cultural habits and our Islamic traditions, they are trying to adopt ours. George Bush, before his term is over, he's the one who started the idea of building campuses and schools completely separate for girls and for boys. That's more productive. That's more fruitful. You know, let me share with you that when we were studying in separate schools before I completed in the States or whatever, that every morning you get up, you take a shower, or you wash yourself and make wudu and pray, and you just comb your hair and wear anything and go to school. Why? You're not concerned about showing off. You're not standing before the mirror for an hour in order to make sure that you're going to please somebody, the opposite gender. This is a human nature. Somebody's going to say this is too extreme and bad thinking, but this is a reality. I've taught in public schools and in public schools and in college in America, and I know exactly how it is. Look, all of us are human beings, have the same hormones that Allah created in us. Some people are totally messed up by going into their own gender. I'm talking about normal, ordinary people, usual people.
Yes.
There is a natural tendency towards the opposite gender. And that's why when I say, I need an assistance from my classmate who is a male person, if you are a female, or vice versa. If you can seek this assistance from your female classmate of your own gender, why do you ask it from another person? Because that will bring a talk, mutual conversation, maybe a coffee. Let's go to Starbucks and chat. And it would really, you will get sucked in. This is how the shaitan sows the fitna and incites the fitna in the hearts of everyone. This is how it begins. The lengthy hadith of Abidu Bani Israel, a worshipper, and what happened to him by the end when he committed adultery, it all began by a conversation with a girl. Am I saying it is haram to speak to the opposite gender? No, it is not. And that's why you speak to us and we speak to you, but with limits and whenever it is necessary. Beyond that, it's just a waste of effort, waste of time, and the person, instead of studying and focusing, will be contemplating the other gender, thinking about how can he please the girls in his class, his classmates, and vice versa. Whether some people agree to that or not, all of us one day were students, and until today were others studying or teaching, and were fully aware of that. So, I wish I would have this authority in order to have all the schools like Al-Azhar or most of the schools in Medina and otherwise. But so far, if it is not available, then at least we should have a segregation in the classroom. The girls, you have plenty of girls, you can seek their assistance. You can ask them, but you should not take it to a boy, or a boy would take it to a girl, which will lead to other consequences.
Yeah, and her second question is quite an interesting one. She says, is marriage a must for ladies?
It depends, because marriage undergoes the 5 Shara'i rules. We stated before with regards to marriage in the program of marriage in Islam that it could be a must, it could be recommended, it could be mere permissible, it could be disliked, and it could be haram. So it depends on your situation. If you're a grown-up girl at a marriageable age and somebody proposed to you who is good and religious, you are at a marriageable age, then in this condition it's a must. Why? The Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا جَاءَكُم مَّن تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَأَمَانَتَهُ فَزَوِّجُوهُ. If somebody proposes to your girl who is honest and you trust his religious commitment, then you should accept this proposal. And if you don't, that would lead to what? Corruption and wide spread of mischief and corruption on earth. This is what we see not only in the non-Muslim societies. Unfortunately now it is spreading and it's coming into the Muslim societies through the women organizations which are trying to incite trouble in the Muslim society by raising the marriage age in the Muslim societies. Why? Why do you put the marriage age 18, then 21? Then Allah knows best. Tomorrow they're going to make it 25 or 28. Why? In order to facilitate illicit relationships. If a boy and a girl who are forming a nice match and both families are in agreement, why not that we should approve this marriage? In which Sharia it says no. In non-Muslim societies, they do not stand against that. They allow it. But in Muslim societies now, those so-called women organizations, which are employed mainly by Satan, in most cases, not necessarily all, are working hard in order to change the divine law. If I have a daughter who's 16 and 17, Fuad, I have girls who call me and say, Sheikh, I am 17 years old and I want to get married badly. There is nothing wrong with that. Or is it only the boy that he has the right to confront his father and say, I want to get married or otherwise? Some they say that I'm involved in a very bad habit. In order to fulfill my desire, I want to get married. And the parents on both sides do not mind. Why do you disapprove that? So we say, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if it leads to haram, every case of haram, you are totally responsible for it. Everyone who invents a new thing that would hurt the ummah, or it's evil or bad, everyone who would copy it or be affected by it, on the Day of Judgment, an equal punishment of all of those who followed that would be deposited in the account of that person who started it from the scratch. Why? That only happens in the absence of the law of the only lawmaker. The only lawmaker in Islam is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The only musharra is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So sister, if you are at marriageable age and you think you're fit for marriage, and somebody who is very decent and nice, as we said before, the criteria proposed to you through your family, why not? One day you'll get married and one day you'll have a family and enjoy your life.
Okay. The next question is a sister asking on behalf of her husband. She says her husband has a sister who is physically handicapped and she has 2 children, and she wants to know if it's possible that her husband can give his sister all his zakah money.
If they're in need for the entire zakah money, why not? Because we did answer before a question, is it permissible to give the entire zakah fund to one person or one beneficiary of the 8 categories? Yes, but it depends. To give him until satisfying their basic needs, not to make them rich on the account of depriving others who are worthy. Meaning, if somebody, for instance, is in debt, he is drowned in debt, he will be jailed if we do not help him out to settle his debt. He doesn't have any mean of support but our the zakah money. It is permissible. وَالْغَارِمِينَ. His debt is $10,000 or $50,000, and my zakah is $60,000. So I would give him the 50, not the 60, right? that consumed most of my zakah fund. What if my zakah fund is only 5? So 5 from me and 5 from another and 6 from until we settle his basic needs.
Okay. And the next question we have here is from a brother. He says, Shaykh, can you please tell me about the rulings about watching pornography, chatting with non-mahrams, listening to music, masturbation? Does all of this come under zina?
Yes, it does. In one hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-aynani tazniyan, wa zinahuma an-nazar. That the two eyes, they may commit adultery. How? By looking at what Allah prohibited, what you just described. Tongue may also commit adultery by talking about what Allah prohibited, or talking to a woman concerning the intimate relationship who is not lawful to you. What about the ears? They may commit zina as well. How? By listening to what Allah prohibited. One's hands by touching what Allah prohibited, and legs by walking into a date or into a haram that would lead to adultery, which Allah prohibited. Then he said, and one's private part may respond to all of that or refuse. يصدق ذلك أو يكذبه. Either would fulfill. All these procedures would lead by the end to the actual adultery, which is legitimate sexual intercourse. So these are introductions. Without those introductions, nobody all of a sudden would fall into a zina, but there has to be introductions. So that's why we should begin by avoiding the introductions. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لا تقربوا الزنا. لا تقربوا الزنا. What does it mean? He did not say, do not commit zina. He said, do not go near zina. Because just mere going nearby, you will slip in. You will get stuck then. You will slide. Because it is very slippery. So stay away. And that's why, as a means of precaution, he prevented and he prohibited looking at what Allah prohibited by saying, قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُمْ ذَلِكَ أَزْكَى لَهُمْ. So when he said, inform and command the believers to protect their modesty and chastity, not to commit adultery. He did not speak about that directly. Rather, he said, do that, achieve that by lowering your gaze. So command the believers to lower their gaze and protect and guard their modesty. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make all of us modest and chaste and protect us against the haram.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh, and Jazakallah khair for all your answers today. And to all the viewers, we'd like to say Jazakallah khair for all the emails we've received from you. And for those who would like to send us emails, you can do that at ask, that's ask@huda.tv. And don't forget, you can support this program and any other program on Huda TV by sending an email at support@huda.tv. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
If my love is attached to thee, then from sins I will be free. Each time my heart will beat, your name will resound with heat. Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate